The Varlin fleet arrived above the human colony of Arden 6 exactly at dawn. The planet was quiet, peaceful, and still waking up. For the Varlin commanders, this made the attack feel almost too easy. Their ships glided through the sky like dark blades, shining with cold metal and perfect formation. Inside the Varlin flagship, Commander Salok watched a hologram of the planet below. Blue oceans, green land, small human settlements. Nothing that looked dangerous. Nothing that looked clever. The humans on Arden 6 did not even have strong defenses. Only a few ground cannons and a handful of fighter ships. Salok spoke calmly. Prepare the first strike. This colony will fall in 8 minutes. The bridge crew nodded. They trusted Salok, but more than that, they trusted the thing behind him. The Oracle engine, the Varlin's greatest creation. It filled the room with a soft blue glow. Its screen shifted with numbers, patterns, probabilities, everything a living being could do. But faster, stronger, perfect. The Oracle engine predicted that the humans would panic, scatter, and surrender quickly. It had never been wrong, but the humans did something very strange. When the Varlin ships opened fire, the humans did not fight back in a normal way. Their ships did not form a defensive circle. They did not retreat to safe ground. Instead, the humans began moving into a broken, messy shape in the sky. It looked like a mistake. It looked like they were confused. One Varlin officer frowned. Commander, the humans. They are splitting. Their formation is collapsing. Salok looked annoyed. As predicted, fear is making them disorganized. It will end soon. But the Oracle engine blinked once, then twice. A warning appeared on its screen. Pattern broken. Recalculating. This had never happened before. Down on the planet, the human pilots were talking fast on open comms. Many of them were young, untrained, and flying outdated ships. But instead of panicking, they were doing something unusual. They were trying things. A pilot called Daria shouted, I can't turn left, my thrusters are stuck. I'm going down. Her captain answered, then go down. Use it, dive under them. Another pilot yelled, but that isn't in the plan. And the captain replied something no Varlin soldier would ever hear from their leader. Then make a new plan. Do it now. The Varlin officers watched human ships dive at uncomfortable angles, bank around mountains, and skim low across the colony's fields. It looked wild and reckless. It made no sense. The Oracle engine spat out a prediction. Human defeat probability, 99.7%. But something was wrong. The humans weren't running. They were pulling the Varlin fleet lower. They moved like they were confused. But their strange drifting shape slowly curved into a wide ring around a canyon on Arden 6's surface. No Varlin saw the pattern forming until it was too late. Salok narrowed his eyes. What are the humans doing? Why are they moving toward that canyon? The Oracle engine displayed. Unclear. Random behavior. But it wasn't random. It was an accident at first. 2. Human pilots had lost engine power and started drifting toward the canyon. Others followed them to try to protect them. More followed simply because they had no better idea. In minutes, they formed a circle without planning it. Then their commanders saw it. Everyone hold positions around the canyon. The human commander shouted, This is our trap now. The word trap made every Varlin officer flinch. Trap? They cannot trap us, Salok said. We see all things before they happen. But they didn't see this. As the Varlin ships chased the humans lower, they entered the canyon's narrow mouth. They were forced into a tight formation. Their superior numbers suddenly meant nothing. They couldn't move freely. The humans had fewer ships, weaker guns, and damaged equipment. But inside the canyon, they had surprise and speed. One human pilot, with a shaky voice said, "I think we can flank them from the north wall." Another replied, "That wasn't in the plan." "It is now." They didn't wait for approval. They simply acted. One idea became two. Two became 10. Human strategy changed every 30 seconds. The Varlin couldn't keep up. Inside the flagship, officers shouted updates. "Human ships are attacking from angles we did not calculate. They are moving faster than predicted." They changed formation again. They changed it a third time. No, now a fourth commander. They are not stable. Saylock stared at the Oracle engine. Its screen was full of error messages. Predictive loop broken. No stable outcome available. Enemy pattern unreadable. This had never happened in Varlin history. Down in the canyon, the humans pushed harder. They didn't know if they would win. They just refused to stop trying new things. Every mistake became a new idea. Every failure became a new strategy. Within 20 minutes, the Varlin ships were forced to retreat out of the canyon. A human officer whispered in disbelief, "They're falling back." "We actually scared them." The Varlin commander finally understood something terrifying. Humans were not predictable. They were not logical. They were not safe. They were learning right in the middle of the battle, and that made them the most dangerous enemy the Varlin had ever faced. The Varlin Council met in a tall, silver chamber floating above their homeworld. The air inside was cold and perfectly still, as if holding its breath. Holograms of the recent battle above Arden 6 flickered in the center of the room. Every Varlin leader stared at the images in disbelief. The humans had won by accident, or so it looked. Commander Saylock stood before the council, his voice tight with frustration. The humans were disorganized, untrained, undisciplined. Their ships malfunctioned. Their communication was sloppy. They made mistakes every minute. He pointed at the footage of the chaotic human formation. This should have been easy. Yet somehow, they used their own errors to create an advantage. We must understand how. Counselor Vera folded her arms, her long eyes narrowing. How did the Oracle engine fail? It has never made a wrong prediction. Saylock lowered his head slightly. It did not fail. Humans behaved outside all known patterns. Their actions made no sense. No logic. Another counselor added, "If the enemy does not follow rules, prediction becomes impossible." Silence fell across the chamber down in the far corner. Standing alone against the wall was a young data analyst named Rytek. He was not invited to speak. Analysts rarely were. They were supposed to listen, collect data, and stay quiet. But Rytek had been studying humans for weeks, long before the battle, and something in the footage made his spine rise. Counselor Vera finally noticed him. "You, analyst, step forward." Rytek moved carefully to the center. He felt dozens of powerful eyes on him. "You have studied human behavior. Explain what we saw." He cleared his throat. "At first, the human formation looks like chaos. But it is not pure chaos. I believe they follow something like a pattern, but a strange one." Saylock frowned. "Chaos is chaos. There is no pattern." Rytek shook his head very slowly. "Not for humans. Chaos is a tool for them. They do not avoid mistakes like we do. They use mistakes. They allow errors. They build on them." The counselors stared at him, confused. So Rytek continued. "In Varlin culture, failure is shame. We do not change orders. We do not break discipline. We move as one, exactly as commanded." He gestured to the human battle footage. But humans do not fear failure. They change orders in the middle of a fight. They improvise. They trust each pilot to make new choices on the spot. This makes them flexible. One counselor scoffed. "Flexible?" They were flailing like children. "Yes," Rytek said. But children learn fast. Those words hung in the room. He stepped closer to the hologram and pointed at a moment in the canyon battle, where a human pilot nearly crashed into the canyon wall, only to twist at the last second and force 3 Varlan ships to pull away. That was not planned, Rytek said. But the humans instantly turned it into a tactic. They changed strategy every few seconds. We cannot predict them because they do not even predict themselves. Counselor Vera leaned forward. What are you suggesting? Rytek hesitated, then said the thing no Varlan wanted to hear. I believe humans fight like a storm, wild, fast, unstable, and storms cannot be predicted with perfect accuracy. The room stirred with uncomfortable movement. A counselor muttered, "A storm. That learns?" Rytek nodded. Yes, humans learn inside the chaos. In real time. They evolve during battle. Commander Saylock stepped toward him. Are you saying humans are more advanced than we believed? Rytek shook his head. Not more advanced, but more adaptable. And adaptation is harder to predict than intelligence. One counselor slammed her hand on the table. If they are so unpredictable, how did they survive this long? How do they function as a species? Rytek answered softly. Because unpredictability is not a weakness for them. It is their strength. The council fell into stunned silence. Then, Counselor Vera turned to Saylock. Prepare the Oracle engine for a deeper analysis. If humans hide their strength behind chaos, we must learn to see through it. Saylock bowed and left the chamber. Rytek also started to leave, but Vera stopped him. You will personally study this chaos pattern. Continue observing the humans. We need answers. Rytek felt a knot of fear and excitement in his chest. Yes, Counselor. As he walked out, he whispered to himself. Humans are not random. They are unpredictable on purpose. Down on Arden 6, while the Varlam Council argued, the humans celebrated in disbelief. Many pilots still thought they had lost the battle, until they saw the Varlan retreat. Commander, Mara Keating studied her pilots, all tired and shaking but smiling. She watched them hug, cheer, and joke about how close they came to crashing. They think it was luck, Keating said quietly. But she knew better. Humans had always survived by doing the unexpected. Changing direction. Breaking rules. Trying things no other species would risk. And now the galaxy would learn that 2. Back on the Varlan homeworld. Rytek sat alone in a silent room, replaying the battle again and again. Every time he watched it, he noticed something new. Something strange. Something dangerous. A whisper formed in his mind. Humans are not chaos. They are creativity unleashed. And that thought terrified him more than any weapon. For 3 days after the Battle of Arden 6, the Varlan Empire remained unusually quiet. Normally, after any conflict, win or lose, they sent out official statements, military reports, and predictions for the next steps. But this time, nothing came. Not a word. Every Varlan leader was busy doing something they had never done before, studying humanity. Inside the Oracle chamber, the air hummed with nervous energy. Blue light from the Oracle engine reflected on every wall, showing thousands of lines of data about human behavior. Yet the AI struggled over and over to understand it. Recalculate. A technician commanded. The Oracle engine flickered. Error. No consistent pattern. The message repeated again and again, filling the room like a warning alarm. Commander Saylock paced in front of the massive screens. How can a species win battles using mistakes? How do errors give them strength? No one answered. Only Rytek, the young analyst, dared to speak. Commander, humans do not fear mistakes like we do. Saylock turned sharply. Fear is natural. Mistakes are weakness. Rytek shook his head. Not to them. Humans treat mistakes as if they are normal. Sometimes they even expect them. They build new ideas from failures. He tapped a screen showing a human pilot nearly crashing into the canyon wall, then turning the near disaster into a sudden attack. That moment, Rytek said, was not planned. But the human used it, adapted instantly, and the others followed. The commanders stared at the screen. To them, such behavior was madness. To humans, it seemed to be instinct. Counselor Vera stepped into the chamber, her long robes shimmering like cold metal. "You claim humans use failure as fuel," she said. "If so, we must understand why." Rytek nodded. "I have been studying their history. Humans have survived natural disasters, wars with themselves, and thousands of unpredictable events. They grew stronger because of challenges, not despite them. To them, failure is not an end. It is information." Saywalk hissed in disbelief. "Information? A crash is information?" "Yes," Rytek said calmly. "A failed attempt tells them what not to do, and what might work next time." Counselor Vera folded her arms. "So you are saying humans become stronger each time they fail?" Rytek nodded, his voice quiet but firm. "Yes, that is exactly what I believe." The chamber grew silent as the weight of those words sank in. If humans grew stronger through failure, then every battle the Varlan fought against them was not weakening humanity. It was training them. Meanwhile, on Arden 6, Commander Mara Keating walked into the medical bay where several pilots rested. Some had sprains, bruises, or exhaustion, but nothing serious. They looked up when Keating entered, half smiling even though they were tired. Pilot Daria raised her hand weakly. "Commander, did we really win?" Keating smiled. "You did. All of you. But we messed up so many times," Daria said. "My ship almost fell apart." Another pilot added, "I missed half my shots. And we didn't stay in formation, even after you told us." The pilots exchanged guilty looks, but Keating shook her head. "You did exactly what you needed to do. You adapted. You kept thinking. You didn't freeze when things went wrong." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "That is what humans do. And that is why the Varlan underestimated us." The pilots exchanged confused looks. Keating said, "They think order wins wars. But humans win wars by trying new things. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes by accident. Every mistake teaches us something." Daria leaned back slowly. "So, messing up helped us?" Keating chuckled. "This time, yes. But don't rely on it too much." The room filled with quiet laughter, but deep inside, Keating felt something heavier, something the pilots were too young to understand. The Varlan were watching. And the next battle would not be so forgiving. Back in the Varlan homeworld, Rytek sat alone in a dark study room, surrounded by floating screens. He watched human battle footage for hours, slowing it down, speeding it up, replaying conversations, pilot reactions, and tactical decisions. There was something beautiful in the chaos, something he could not describe. At last, he whispered to himself, "They are not unpredictable because they are random. They are unpredictable because they trust their own instincts." He paused, thinking deeply, and because they are not afraid to change their minds. As he spoke, new data appeared on his screen, human commanders yelling orders, then changing them moments later. Pilots arguing mid-battle. Soldiers improvising tools with whatever they had. Rytek's spine stiffened. "This is what frightens us," he said softly. "We fear mistakes. They welcome them." He typed a new term into the Oracle database. Adaptive chaos. The Oracle engine processed it for several seconds, then displayed something shocking. New variable accepted. Prediction difficulty increased by 310%. Rytek exhaled slowly. The Varlan had never faced anything like this. The Council's decision that night. The Varlan Council gathered again. After hours of debate, they agreed on something rare. The humans were not a minor threat. They were a rising one. Counselor Vera looked at the hologram of Earth, glowing softly among the stars. "Prepare the fleets," she said. "The humans must be contained before their chaos spreads." But Rytek, standing in the shadows, felt a cold fear crawl up his spine. He knew the truth. Chaos was already spreading. Human. General Mara Keating stood alone on the balcony of the Arden 6 Command Center. The sun was rising, painting the sky orange and gold. Below her, engineers repaired damaged ships and soldiers loaded supplies for evacuation. Even after winning the first battle, the colony knew the Varlin would return. Keating watched the sky with sharp, tired eyes. She wasn't afraid of the Varlin. She was afraid of what they would learn. Humans had fought a messy, chaotic battle, but they'd won only because the Varlin didn't understand unpredictability. That advantage would not last long. Behind her, a young officer jogged up. "General Keating, incoming message from Earth Command." "Put it through." A hologram flickered on. Admiral Reyes, one of the highest-ranking officers in the Terran Defense Union, appeared with a stern face. "General Keating," he began, "the galaxy is talking about your victory." Keating frowned. "I didn't want attention." Reyes nodded. "I know, but the Varlin hate losing. And now they see humanity as a threat." Keating stared into the hologram. "What does Earth want me to do?" Reyes exhaled heavily. "Send a message to the Varlin. Something strong. Something that shows we aren't scared." Keating raised an eyebrow. "A message? They don't listen to warnings." "This isn't for them," Reyes said. "It's for every other species watching. They need to know humans won't break." Keating hesitated. She didn't like speeches. She preferred plans, strategies, and direct actions. But she understood the political game. If the galaxy was watching, humanity needed to control the story. "Fine," she said. "Prepare a broadcast. I'll speak." Hours later, the broadcast signal reached dozens of systems, including the Varlin homeworld. Across the Empire, screens lit up with the face of General Mara Keating, calm, steady. With the background of Arden 6's damaged battlefield behind her, her voice cut through the quiet of the galaxy. "This is General Mara Keating of the Terran Defense Union. Rytek." The Varlin analyst watched from a dark office. Counselor Vera and Commander Salok watched from the high chamber. Even the Oracle engine activated, measuring every tone and pattern in her voice. Keating continued. "You attacked a peaceful colony and expected us to fall in minutes. You thought we would follow your rules, your logic, your predictions." She leaned closer to the camera. "But humans don't live by predictions." Commander Salok hissed under his breath. "What is she doing? Taunting us?" Rytek whispered, "Listen, this is important." Keating's voice steadied. "You can predict what we might do, but you will never predict what we decide to do." The Varlin Council chamber went silent. Keating continued. "Humans make mistakes. We learn fast. We change faster. And if you push us, we will push back in ways you never expect." She raised her head slightly, her eyes fierce. "We are not afraid of chaos. We are not afraid of failure. And we are not afraid of you." Millions of beings across the galaxy watched the broadcast, some with awe, some with fear, and some with curiosity. Keating finished. "If the Varlin seek war, we will fight. Not with perfect plans or flawless logic, but with creativity, courage, and the will to survive." Her last words cut like a blade. "You think you can predict humanity, but you can't predict freedom." The broadcast ended. The Varlin reaction inside the Varlin Council chamber. The leaders erupted into anger and disbelief. "She threatens us openly. She spreads fear among our allies. She claims unpredictability is strength. Commander Saylock slammed his hand onto the table. We must strike now. Humiliate them before their chaos spreads. But Counselor Vera raised a hand. Wait! The room fell quiet. She looked at Rytek. You studied them. What does this message mean? Rytek swallowed hard. It means humans know exactly what scares us. Vera narrowed her eyes. And what is that? Rytek answered softly. Loss of control. Every Varlan warrior, every commander, every strategy depended on order and prediction. Chaos was their greatest fear. And Keating had just declared that humanity thrived inside it. Vera turned back to the hologram of Keating. She is not just a military leader, Vera said. She is sending a message to every species watching us. Saylock growled. A message of war. No, Vera whispered. A message of confidence. Rytek spoke again. And confidence is the one thing we cannot calculate. Meanwhile, on Arden 6, General Keating ended the broadcast and stepped away from the camera. The officers nearby watched her silently. One finally said, General, do you think the Varlan understood? Keating sighed. Oh, they understood, she said. That's exactly why they're coming back. She looked up at the orange sky, where the first stars were beginning to show. We showed them we can fight. Now, they'll try to prove we can't. She tightened her gloves and turned toward the command center. Prepare for the second wave. They won't underestimate us this time. The Varlan homeworld glowed like a silver sphere in the dark of space. Its cities built with perfect symmetry and quiet precision. But inside the Oracle chamber, nothing felt calm. Rows of technicians rushed from station to station, alarms pulsing in bright red waves across the walls. The Oracle engine, once the pride of the Empire, was struggling. Its blue screens flickered. Its processors hummed at an uneven rhythm, almost like a heart under stress. Counselor Vera arrived first, her face stern. Report. A technician bowed. Counselor, the humans have launched their second counteroffensive. 32 unexpected maneuvers performed in 1 hour. Vera's eyes widened. 32? Yes, Counselor. The Oracle engine attempted to predict each one. Another technician added, It is losing stability. We have never seen anything like this. Commander Saylock stepped forward, furious. How can 32 unpredictable maneuvers break our most advanced machine? The technician replied carefully, because the humans did not follow any pattern. Their actions were beyond logic. Rytek entered the chamber quietly, holding several data pads. They're not trying to confuse us, he said. They're simply fighting the only way they know, by creating new ideas every minute. Saylock snapped. Ideas do not win wars. Discipline does. Rytek faced him boldly. Then explain why we are losing prediction capabilities. Why the engine cannot keep up. Saylock opened his mouth to argue. But before he could speak, the Oracle engine made a sharp, strange noise. FCZT-KRRRK-FCZT. Its lights flickered violently. Every Varlan officer froze. The main screen glowed bright white. Then displayed a message. Warning. Predictive loop failure. Another message followed. Enemy maneuver rate exceeds processing limit. And then the message that made even the high officers step back. Unresolvable species. The chamber went silent. Impossible. Saylock whispered. No species is unresolvable. The Oracle engine sees all. But there it was, written in cold, bright letters. Rytek stepped closer, stunned. It means the humans' actions cannot be predicted by probability, he said. They are too flexible, too fast, too creative. The Oracle engine flickered again. A new message flashed. Processor emergency shutdown initiated. The entire machine went dark. Lights, screens, holograms, everything shut off. The Oracle engine, the heart of the Varlan war machine, had crashed up meanwhile, far across space. On the human warship Resolute Dawn, alarms rang as enemy ships moved into position. General Mara Keating stood on the command bridge, watching her officers work with fast, precise movements, yet none of them followed a strict script. They talked across stations, shared ideas, suggested bold maneuvers, and changed strategies every few minutes. Chaos, yes, but organized chaos. A lieutenant shouted, "General, Varlan fighters incoming. They're approaching from 3 angles at once." Keating nodded. Good. That means they're getting nervous. Another officer looked back at her in fear. "Ma'am, the Oracle engine predicts everything. They'll know our moves." Keating turned toward him with a firm expression. "No, they think they know our moves. That's different." She stepped closer to the tactical map. "Tell every squadron leader, no fixed plan. They choose their own tactics. Change formation whenever needed. And if something fails, use it." The lieutenant blinked. "Use it?" "Yes," Keating said. "Humans always have." The officers exchanged excited, nervous smiles. They were learning to trust their own instincts, learning to fight like humans, not machines. Back in the Varlan chamber, the Oracle engine lay silent, a dead blue shell. Technicians tried to restart it, but the machine refused to activate. "Try again," Saylock shouted. "We cannot fight without predictions." Vera raised her hand sharply. "Enough. Screaming won't repair the engine." She turned to Rytek. "Analyst, explain again, why did it fail?" Rytek swallowed, hand shaking slightly. It wasn't the humans' weapons or numbers. It was their behavior. They don't fight with fixed patterns. They break rules, change ideas, and surprise even themselves. He hesitated, then added, "We fought like machines. They fought like minds." Vera's gaze hardened, "And now our machine has fallen." Saylock glared at Rytek. "This is your fault. You told us they were dangerous, yet you didn't stop them." Rytek shook his head calmly. "I warned you they were unpredictable. I warned you they learn fast. But you refused to believe a primitive species could break the Oracle engine." Vera stepped between them. "Enough. Rytek is not the problem. Humans are." She looked at the dark screen, feeling something the Varlan rarely felt: fear. If we cannot predict them, we cannot control them. The galaxy reacts on distant planets. Alien species watch the news of the Varlan struggle. Rumors spread quickly. Humans beat their Oracle. Humans changed strategy mid-battle. Varlan fleets retreated twice. For the first time in centuries, the Varlan were not feared. They were questioned. And humans messy. Unpredictable humans were becoming a legend. Rytek's private discovery late that night. Alone in a dim office, Rytek watched the final minutes of the second battle again. He paused the screen in a moment when a human fighter spun out of control, turned the accident into a sudden boost, and destroyed a Varlan ship. He whispered, "They do not fear mistakes." His spines trembled, and that is why no machine can ever predict them. The third major confrontation was supposed to be a clean, decisive Varlan victory. The Council chose a barren moon orbiting a dying star, quiet, empty, predictable. Their fleet surrounded it with flawless geometry, forming a silver cage in space. No human ship could enter without being crushed. No human ship could escape. At least, that was the plan. Commander Saylock stood on the bridge of the flagship Varlan Ascendant, watching as the last unit locked into formation. "Perfect," he said. "Humans cannot improvise their way out of a closed system." Counselor Vera nodded, though her eyes carried doubt. "We will see." Rytek stood behind them, quietly observing. "Perfect traps," he said gently, "always fail when used against imperfect minds." Saylock scowled. "Your metaphors are becoming tedious." Before Rytek could answer, an officer shouted, "Multiple human signatures detected. Breaking warp." The hologram blinked, then displayed a cluster of ships emerging from faster-than-light travel. But something was wrong. Vera leaned forward. "Why are they so close together?" "They're overlapping their warp exits." The officer stammered. "Counselor? That's impossible." It was impossible. It was impossible. It was reckless. And humans were doing it anyway. The ships burst out of warp, tangled in chaotic spirals. Some nearly colliding, others spinning wildly until stabilizers kicked in. Saylock laughed cruelly. "Fools. They will destroy themselves before reaching us." But then the unexpected happened. The spiraling ships, instead of correcting course, used their unstable momentum to slingshot around the moon, gaining impossible acceleration. Dozens of human fighters, still wobbling, launched mid-spin, their paths zigzagging erratically, perfectly unpredictable. One Varlan officer gasped. "They are using warp instability as a weapon." Rytek's voice was quiet, almost awed. "They turned a dangerous mistake into an advantage before they even stopped spinning." Saylock snapped. "Target the incoming fighters." The Varlan formation moved in perfect harmony, weapons firing in synchronized waves. But the humans were too messy, too uneven, too alive. The Varlan shots passed through empty space as human fighters zigged, dropped, curved upward, or simply tumbled in strange arcs. One fighter lost control entirely, spiraled downward, and slammed into a Varlan cruiser, destroying both in a fireball. The chamber fell silent. Vera whispered, "They used their accidents as strategy." Rytek nodded. "They turn every flaw into possibility. That is their strength." On the human flagship Horizon Gate, General Mara Keating watched the chaos unfold with calm determination. Her tactical officer looked horrified. "Ma'am, we lost 18 ships in the warp exit." Keating replied, "And if we exited safe, we'd lose all of them in the next 10 minutes. This way, we've confused their entire formation." Another officer said, "Their firing patterns are misaligned. They can't track us." "Exactly," Keating said. "We don't need to be perfect. We just need to be unpredictable." She turned to her communications officer. "Tell all pilots, if something goes wrong, don't fix it immediately. Use it first." The officer blinked. "Use what goes wrong?" "Yes," Keating said. "Turn errors into openings." The message spread through the human fleet. Pilots who lost stabilizers used the drift for speed. Ships with damaged shields used debris as cover. A cruiser with failing engines allowed itself to fall toward the moon's gravity, then fired thrusters at the last moment to sling upward, creating a shock wave that disrupted Varlan ships. The battlefield became a storm of creative improvisation. The Varlan response inside the flagship Ascendant. Panic spread. Saylock slammed his fist against the control rail. "Recalculate predictions. Track their movements." A technician looked up, terrified. "Commander, we cannot predict chaos." Vera's voice was low and grave. "Commander, our ships rely on precision. They cannot handle this war without patterns." Saylock hissed, then forced the humans into a pattern. Rytek stepped forward. "We tried that in the first battle. We tried in the second. And now the third. The humans break whatever pattern we build. They break the shape of the entire fight." Vera turned toward him. "What are you suggesting?" Rytek swallowed. "That this war cannot be fought the way Varlan wars have always been fought." Saylock glared. "And you think the solution is to mimic humans? To abandon discipline?" Rytek shook his head. "No, we cannot become them. Their creativity comes from their failures, their mistakes, their instincts. We cannot replicate that." He pointed toward the battlefield. "Humans fight like storms. We fight like machines. Machines always break in storms. The turning point at human transport suddenly exploded, its fragments scattering across space. But instead of retreating, nearby human fighters used the explosion's debris cloud as cover, darting through it at strange angles. The Varlan weapons, built for clear lines of fire, hesitated. The battlefield shifted. For the first time in memory, a Varlan fleet broke formation voluntarily. Individual captains acted without central orders, trying to escape the chaos. Salak screamed, "Hold your positions. Return to formation." But they didn't, or couldn't. The precise machine of Varlan warfare was coming apart. The moment Vera realized the truth, the human fleet pressed forward. Not with order, but with unstoppable momentum, every ship improvising, every pilot adapting. The Varlan formation disintegrated. Vera closed her eyes. "This war is not about power," she said softly. "It is about flexibility." Rytek nodded. "And humans were forged in chaos. We were forged in control." She whispered the words she had feared since the Oracle engine crashed. "Then we are fighting a species our empire is not designed to defeat." For the Varlan Empire, defeat was usually simple. One side lost, one side won. Clean, predictable, recorded. But what happened after the third battle was not defeat. It was confusion deep. Painful confusion the Varlan had never experienced before. The Oracle engine, a massive, living computer that predicted every possible future, had crashed again. Not because of power loss, not because of damage. It had simply failed to understand humans. Its last message, before going silent, echoed through the council chamber like a curse. Outcomes exceeded boundary of logic. Inside the Varlan High Council Hall, the great dome chamber was filled with shimmering data screens, all flickering with error symbols. The counselors stood around the central platform, their faces pale with fear they tried hard to hide. Counselor Vera stepped forward. "We have lost 3 major engagements," she said. "Each one predicted as a victory. Each one broken by human improvisation." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. Salak stood beside her, proud chin raised, still refusing to accept the truth. "This is temporary," he barked. "We simply need better calculations, stronger predictions. We must rebuild the Oracle, and..." Rytek cut him off gently. "No machine can predict a species that invents new actions while fighting." Vera added, "Their tactics were not pre-planned. They were not logical. They were born from failure, chance, instinct. They rewrote the battlefield as they fought." Salak glared. "Then we must strike fast before they adapt further." But Rytek shook his head. "They want us to strike fast. Humans do not fear chaos. They wish to meet us inside it." The council fell silent. For the first time, the Varlan realized they were not facing an enemy with a strategy. They were facing an enemy with possibility. Meanwhile, on the human flagship Horizon Gate, General Mara Keating stood at the center of a crowded war room. Maps flickered on screens. Pilots and officers exchanged excited, nervous voices. The air was electric, but Keating wasn't smiling, because she knew what was coming. Her intelligence officer approached. "General, the Varlan have pulled back to their border systems. They're regrouping." Keating nodded slowly. "They're scared," she said, "and scared enemies are dangerous." A younger officer asked, "Ma'am, do you think they will surrender?" Keating shook her head. "No. The Varlan have ruled half the galaxy for 1,000 years. They don't surrender. They reconsider." She looked at the screen again. "What they do next won't be predictable. Not even for us." The Varlan debate back in the council hall. The argument grew heated. Salak slammed his clawed hand onto the table. "Humans are primitive. Their victories are lucky accidents. We have superior ships, superior weapons, superior structure. We stand above them. Rytek stared at him. And yet, he said softly, they keep defeating us. Counselor Vera addressed the room. We are fighting the galaxy's only species that does not fear the unknown. They jump into warp incorrectly. They launch ships while spinning. They turn errors into tactics. Their minds bend around problems ours cannot even imagine. Saylock scoffed. They are reckless. Vera nodded. Double quotes. Yes, and that recklessness makes them unstoppable inside the chaos we created. The counselors murmured. One of the elders finally spoke. So what do we do? Vera breathed in deeply. We change. The room froze. Change? The Varlin? Impossible, but Rytek stepped forward beside her. Humans survive because they evolve. They adapt. They transform. We do none of those things. But if we do not learn, we will fall. Saylock snarled. Are you saying we should become human? No, Rytek replied. But we must stop forcing the war into a shape they can break. Vera nodded. We must accept what we cannot control. We must allow unpredictability. We must learn. The council chamber erupted into uneasy voices. Some terrified. Some curious. All changed. For the first time in Varlin history, the word adapt was spoken without disgust. The message to humanity hours later. Vera stood before a massive holoscreen. The humans had sent no threats. No demands. Only a simple request. Talk? Vera answered it with a sigh. The screen activated. General Mara Keating appeared, standing on the bridge of Horizon Gate. Her expression was calm, steady, respectful. This is General Keating of the Terran Alliance. We seek communication. Vera bowed her head slightly. This is Counselor Vera of the Varlin Imperium. We accept. Keating said nothing at first. She studied Vera's face, her tone, her posture. Then she gave a slow nod. Then let's begin. Both sides knew this was not surrender. Not peace. Not yet. This was recognition. Recognition that each species had something the other lacked. Humans had creativity. Varlin had stability. One side made chaos work. The other gave chaos meaning. Perhaps together, they could form something new. The Oracle's final whisper later that night, when the council hall was empty. Rytek walked alone toward the silent Oracle engine. Its dark screen suddenly flickered. 4 words appeared quiet, almost gentle. The war has changed. Rytek closed his eyes. Yes, he whispered. And so must we.